So a couple things are going to be going on a little different in class. I have had some other people kind of asking me they're in my online class to be filming some snapshots of class because they sort of want the experience of being here. It's kind of like different when you actually get to be in the classroom and have some fun. So don't act any different, okay? Please, 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 please don't act any different.
You don't want me to act better.
What?
You don't want me to act better.
No. You can be your obnoxious self, so there you go. All right, so now what I want you all to do is either my inbox did not get flooded as much as I was hoping, or some of you simply forgot to follow through on the wanting to help one of our basketball team ladies. So I'm going to actually have you sign in to make this happen when you leave today. We're going to throw that pen away because I cannot stand pens that don't work, can I, Jane? Okay. So this is for our basketball team. Because I'm going to be making those connections next week. I've also been hearing people saying how excited they are to get rolling with their client. And so we'll be rolling with that again next week as well. So, again, online class. This is the Tuesday, Thursday class. Y'all say hello. Hello, hello, hello. So, as we're moving and growing together through this, a couple of things that we're going to really jump into tackling today are the greatness of vitamins and minerals. So, I want you to dust off those intriguing questions that you had brought to class about vitamins and minerals. And I know that we're kind of flashing back probably 2 weeks. I think it's all the way back to week 2 that y'all jumped into that topic when it really does start to change some things. And before we even jump into vitamins and minerals, the first thing that we're going to talk about is the greatness of water. Now, everyone be honest. Who has really gotten to a point where they're getting good at drinking their water? Okay, so if you're not one of those peoples, what are you finding that some of your barriers to drinking water are? What are the barriers? No flavor, okay? What could we problem solve over there with helping no flavor? Put a little flavor in it, okay? Have you tried doing that? Okay, why not? Okay. How are we doing with sodas and sweet tea? Are we much better? You're better? You are?
I usually get Powerade. I know that's not much better, but
Could you go with maybe like a G2 or go with the zero sugar Powerade?
I don't think they have those at McDonald's.
Well, why don't we just get water?
Oh,
Okay, that would be a much better choice as we begin to move through things. So now, y'all are going to have to help me remember. Did we jump into talking about water last week? We did not. Okay, I couldn't remember exactly where we started and where we stopped. Okay, I want us to all of a sudden begin to really think about, I'm jumping in on page 181. And on 181, we think about all the different places that we really get water. You know, there's this thing called your food, your liquid, your metabolic water, and glycogen-bound water that are going on in your body. You guys, your body is really like over, 75% water. And if you're not drinking water, you're not asking your body to be as efficient and effective at muscle contraction rate, at thinking. Has anyone that's been doing good at hydration recently found yourself getting dehydrated and getting that dehydration headache? It just kind of starts to feel, it's different than a sinus headache. You just actually start to recognize it as a dehydration headache. So be really careful. You guys, think about it. We lose water through sweating. We lose water through condensation when we speak. You guys, on Mondays, I feel like all I do is talk. I teach an early morning group X class. I teach theory. I teach a noon group X class. I end up teaching a 1 o'clock sports nutrition class and then a 3 o'clock testing and prescription class. So if you think about that, you actually lose water through condensation when you speak. That's a lot of water that I'm not really accounting for at times, and I've typically worked out twice during that day as well. So you've got to think about those things. You guys, you actually think about your kidneys. Your kidneys, why are your kidneys so important when it comes to managing water in your body? They what?
They filter all your liquids.
They filter all your liquids. Okay, your kidneys are super important in balancing your electrolytes. So if your electrolytes are out of balance, you can potentially have some kidney issues going on. So just be aware of that. That's why we want people to stay so good and hydrated. Okay, now come over to page 182 with me, and this is going to be sort of an aha moment. Okay, now listen. Yeah, where is glycogen stored in your body? Two different places. Muscle and muscle and liver. Now, our bodies have this thing called glycogen-bound water. And you guys, if you stop and think about it, you guys, we store 3 to 4 ounces of water for every ounce of muscle glycogen. 3 to 4 ounces. Have y'all ever heard someone say that when they started eating low carb, all they lost was water weight? Have y'all heard about people losing water weight?
Yeah.
That's what that is. Whenever you deplete your glycogen stores, your body doesn't hold on to as much water. Now, could be a good thing, could be a bad thing, depending on how you manage it. So what we see people that end up getting really glycogen depleted, you guys think about it. If you are 100 grams, okay, glycogen depleted, how many grams, how many ounces of water would that be? 3 to 400 ounces of water. That's a lot of water that you could really all of a sudden have lost from your body. So just be aware of that. We do want to stay good and hydrated so that the amount of glycogen that we store. We know that glycogen is important, but we also know that as long as we're completely overloaded with glycogen, we can never burn what?
Fat.
We can never burn fat. So it's that whole balance of staying glycogen, staying glycogen available, but not having it overpacked to a point where we never go into fat utilization. You guys, because as long as there's always a ton of insulin, hey, where's insulin come from?
Pancreas.
Your pancreas. What causes your pancreas to crank out a ton of insulin when you eat?
Sugar.
When you eat sugar. So here's the whole thing. If we're continually eating sugar, we're continually releasing insulin. As long as there is insulin present, you cannot go into this amazing thing called lipolysis. What's lipolysis, Jake? Lipolysis. What's lipolysis?
The first step of fat metabolism.
The first step of fat burning. Remember, that's what growth hormone does. Okay? So here's the whole thing. As long as you have a ton of insulin present, you can never burn fat. So that's why we have to be careful with not overloading those glycogen stores. So look in that bottom right-hand corner of page 183. Y'all talk to me about some of those things that affect water loss in our bodies. Go. Diarrhea. I love that you went straight forward and said that, Sid. That rocks. Okay? Hey, is it fun to have diarrhea?
No.
No. Okay? How quick can diarrhea have you lose a ton of fluid from your body? Very quickly. So we want to, what's another way we lose? The weather. You guys, hotter or colder? Hotter. Heat plus what? The other H. Heat plus humidity. You guys, I say that humidity brings humility. Humidity is the great equalizer. It really makes you care a little bit about what's going on. What are some of those other things?
Caffeine.
What's the thing with caffeine? What does caffeine do?
Diuretic.
Excellent, Colin. Caffeine is a diuretic, so it sends water through the body more efficient, not even more efficiently, it sends it through quicker. so that really your body is not allowing to saturate deep in all of those skills. And I mean, like I said, you all of a sudden you drink a bunch of caffeine and what do you have to go do?
Pee.
You gotta go pee. So that's one of those things that we need to pay attention to. I tell people you need to be sure to consume, if you're gonna drink an 8-ounce cup of coffee, you need to ensure that you're drinking 16 ounces of water with it. I tell people with caffeinated beverages, it's a 2-to-1 ratio. Same thing, and I'll just go ahead and say it, same thing with alcohol. If you're gonna drink this, okay? Again, if you're gonna drink your caffeine source that happens to have alcohol in it too, you better double and triple up the water afterwards. Okay, that's that whole thing with people doing Red Bull and vodka. That is stupid, by the way. That is stupid. So what kind of people are you? Smart people. Don't do that. Don't do that, okay? Again, y'all act like I don't know that kind of stuff exists. Come on. I got a kid in college. All right, so what else? What are some of those things that we talk about affect sweat rate? Heat trapping clothes. Hey, have we become spoiled to nice, dry fit diva wear? Yes? Yes. Okay, when was the last time, have y'all noticed if you had to do a workout like in a real deal, old school cotton t-shirt, how just heavy and it doesn't breathe, does it? Okay, we've kind of gotten used to better breathing, sweat wicking materials that have really started to help things. So we got to pay attention to that. What are some other things?
Exercise.
Exercise. Typically what happens when we exercise? Sweat. Core temperature goes up. How many of you would call yourself one of those people that is a high sweat rate person? Are you a dripper? If you're a dripper, yep. You know, I drip. So we're going to talk about some of the vitamins and minerals that you need to be aware of if you're one of those high sweat rate people. So what else was there? Hot weather. Food and supplements. What did it say? Diuretics. Ooh, what's a diuretic do? Makes you pee. Here's what's interesting. One of the first lines of defense that so many doctors use when someone is diagnosed with high blood pressure is actually a diuretic to help them keep from storing so much fluid in their body. And people that all of a sudden might have swelling in their ankles, we call that ankle edema, they might be prescribed a diuretic. But remember, you really, unless it's medically necessary, you don't want to take a diuretic that's going to make you lose your body water. Body water is an incredibly important thing to have. So we have to pay attention to all of these things. Again, we talked about alcohol and caffeine. Inadequate y'all have words that y'all just struggle with saying all the time. Okay? Acclimation to heat. Have y'all ever had someone that's from the north that comes down to visit you in the south in the summer and they're like, oh my God, how do you people handle this? Okay, it's so interesting. I kind of feel the same way when I go up north and it's cold. I'm like, how do they handle this? But it's an interesting thing. And all of those things matter. Okay, so when we jump over, you guys look at that cool chart on page 184. You guys, that's just one of those things. You guys, look at that. Whenever you're in very hot desert climates, you guys, you can sweat up to 1 liter an hour. If you were able to like collect everything that you sweated and it happened to be this much. How many of you that are who are my high sweat rate people? How many of you all have ever done a weigh-in before and after a pretty intense exercise session to see the amount of water loss? Georgia, no?
I probably have, but I don't remember.
Okay, if you're a high sweat rate person, like when it gets to be spring and y'all are burning up during games, it would be the best thing for you all to do a pre and a post game weigh-in, because what it tells you is you know exactly what you have to replenish with or you're going to be dehydrated. It gives you the formula. It makes it easy for you. Guys, in the summertime when I've gone on long runs, it's not been unusual at all for me to lose 1.5 liters of weight. Okay? You guys, that's like 4 pounds. Okay, not unusual at all. And you guys, are you going to lose 4 pounds of fat on a run? No. You know that it has to be water. So this is one of those things, you have to put the water back in. You have to do it so you can actually be ready to perform again. You guys, it says female competitive long distance runners can lose approximately 0.7 liters, especially when it's warm. So you've got to be sure to get that water in without a doubt. Say, got it when you got it?
Got it.
All right. On page 190, it actually kind of talks about some daily expenditure guidelines. Here's what I'm going to say. I tell most people to strive to get that 4 quarts a day, that gallon a day. But what I also want you to know is if you're a larger body volume person, you're going to need more water. So, drink more water if you need more water. Really, really, really pay attention to those things. It's really, really, really important. Okay, interesting questions. What color should your urine be?
Clear.
Lemonade.
There you go. Do you want it to be like this? No. Okay, let me tell you a couple things. You want it to look like lemonade, and also you want to be able to maintain water for at least like an hour and a half. If you're having to go pee more than an hour and a half, it's probably coming through too quick. Now, here's a question. If you have gone through a really big exercise session and you have dumped out this much and you're trying to put it back in, what are some tricks that you can do to slow down that water? Because if I go run and I all of a sudden, go through 2 of these and I put 2 of these back in, I'm gonna have to TT every 20 minutes for a long time, which means I'm not reabsorbing that. What are some tricks that you can do to help slow down to resaturate water absorption? Yes?
Pickle juice.
Excellent. I'm telling you guys, I'm a believer in the pickle juice. I'm a believer in salt. I'm a believer in plain electrolytes. You guys, if you are going to use an electrolyte replenishment beverage, you guys, I'm a big lover of Propel. Okay? You guys, number one, they're super affordable. Get them in the powdered sticks. You can use your same. Guys, the powdered sticks, they're like 40 cents a piece. You can't get a big Gatorade, and then you don't need the sugar. Another thing that you can do is, and I did this a lot at tournaments, with baseball tournaments that we were living at over the summer, is you can get a full gallon of water, okay? You can actually take 2 teaspoons, put 2 teaspoons of salt in it, put 2 teaspoons of sugar in it. Now that's just 2 teaspoons over the whole gallon. It should barely not even taste sweet at all. All that's allowing you to do with that little amount of sugar is it's just trickling into the bloodstream quicker. Okay? We kind of just called it homemade Gatorade. Okay? Put the salt and put a little bit of sugar in there just to do that. Because again, you want to slow down that absorption rate. So again, I'm a believer of the pickle juice and making those things happen. The funny thing is, I keep a jar. I love pickles though. So it's not unusual for me to go by and have in the afternoon when you're just kind of wanting a snack and you really don't really need a snack, but you want a snack. Am I the only one that? No? Okay, good. I thought y'all were looking at me like, we don't ever snack. We're perfect. Okay. A lot of times I'll go by and just grab a pickle and get a slug of pickle juice and all of that. Some people get really freaked out about salt. I want to be the one to tell you, don't get really freaked out about salt unless you're someone that's salt sensitive. How do you know if you're salt sensitive?
If you're sensitive to salt.
Do you bloat really easy?
Excellent. You actually see yourself bloating or swelling really easy. I feel like with girls sometimes it's kind of easy because a lot of times if girls wear rings, you can all of a sudden you're like, ooh I drank that margarita last night and your rings are tight the next morning and all that fun stuff. You can tell, interesting, have y'all ever taken off socks and all of a sudden the socks were like, you could see the sock embedded print? in your leg, that's a sign that you're a salt sensitive person because you've got a little bit of that retention going on. So pay attention to those interesting things. If you're not salt sensitive and you like salt, don't be scared of consuming salt. We sort of swung the pendulum so far about being so worried about being salt. If you ate salt, you were going to get what?
Cancer.
Not cancer, but
Kidney failure.
it's hard on your kidneys, but they always say, oh, you eat salt, you're going to get high blood pressure. Now, I will say that there is great research that in the African American population, there is a correlation between higher salt diets and higher levels of blood pressure. But we also know that the African American population typically just has higher blood pressure as well. So again, don't be scared of salt. It really does sort of slow things. How many of you are like salt? Like I'm an enjoy salt person. I have to, I just like salt. And what I will say is, if you are someone who is now embracing a lower carbohydrate style diet, remember, what kind of people are you? If you're not completely loading your glycogen stores, what are you not going to have as much hanging around?
Water.
You're not going to have as much water hanging out in your body. So you really need to be conscientious of drinking that water and then even increasing your salt consumption just a little bit if you're choosing to move in that direction. So got it?
Got it.
Awesome. I'm going to sort of break these up into little